know what? Nobody ever warned me about getting older. Nobody ever sat me down and said, hey, watch yourself. The older you get, the more ways you find to push good people right out the door. Nobody. And I wish someone had. I really do. 'Cause here I am looking back at decades of living, and I can see so clearly now all the little things people do, all the little habits that creep in quietly, that make the people around us slowly back away. Not with a fight, not with a big dramatic scene, just slowly, like sand slipping through your fingers. And the worst part, the people who love you most will never tell you. They'll smile right to your face and say nothing, because they don't want to hurt you. But behind your back, they are already creating distance. And today, I'm going to be the one who actually says it out loud, because somebody has to. So stay with me here, because if even one thing I say today lands for you, it could genuinely change how the rest of your life feels. And that matters. That really does matter. So the very first thing, and I say this with all the love I have, is the constant complaining. Oh man, it starts so innocent. You mention the weather is miserable. Fine. You bring up how prices at the grocery store are absolutely out of control. Okay. You say something about the younger generation not having any manners. All right. But then it does not stop. It never stops. It becomes your whole personality. Your body hurts. The government is broken. The neighbors are too loud. Nothing is ever right. And before you even realize what has happened, people start dreading spending time with you. Psychologists call this a negativity bias, which basically just means our brains are already wired to notice the bad stuff more than the good stuff. But when you feed that tendency every single day, when every conversation becomes a list of grievances, you become what they call an emotional vampire. Not because you're a bad person, but because being around you costs people something. It drains their energy. Their mood drops after talking to you. And the human brain is built to survive, so eventually it just starts steering away from whatever's hurting it, including you. Instead of filling your words with what is wrong, try talking about something you remember warmly, something small that made you smile, a lesson life taught you the hard way. Even one calm, genuine thought carries more real weight than 100 complaints ever will. And right alongside that is this habit of turning every single conversation into a medical report. I get it. When you reach a certain age, your body starts sending you new bulletins every other week. A new ache, a new diagnosis, a new medication. And it becomes so central to your daily experience that it feels completely natural to just share all of it. Every blood pressure reading, every pill side effect, every single thing the doctor said. But here's what's happening on the other side of that conversation. The person listening to you, they care about you. They genuinely do. But there's a psychological concept called compassion fatigue. It means that even people who love you deeply can only hold space for so much suffering before they start emotionally shutting down just to protect themselves. They don't want to see you reduced to a collection of symptoms. They want to see the version of you that survived all of it. They want to see your toughness, your humor, your warmth. Share the story if you need to, but lead with who you are, not with what hurts. Let them walk away thinking about your courage, not your condition. Then there's this one, and I know it's going to sting a little because I catch myself doing it too. The constant comparing of right now to back then. Back in my day, when I was young, things were so much better then. And look, the past was real. The past had beauty in it. But when every single sentence you speak is anchored to some version of the world that no longer exists, something happens to the people around you, especially the younger ones. They feel invisible. They feel like their world doesn't count, like nothing they're building or creating or going through actually matters to you.
Psychologists call this nostalgia bias, where we tend to remember the past as cleaner and simpler than it actually was, because memory filters out the pain. But the cost of living too deep in that filtered past is that you stop being genuinely curious about what's in front of you. And curiosity, real curiosity, is what keeps you connected to people. Ask a young person about something they love. Let them show you something you've never seen before. When people see that you're open, that you're still growing, they don't see your age, they see your wisdom. And that's the kind of respect that cannot be faked. Now, this next one is something I think a lot of older folks genuinely don't see coming because nobody frames it as a problem. The letting go of how you present yourself. And I'm not talking about chasing some magazine cover, not at all. I'm talking about the psychology of self-presentation, which basically means the way you take care of your appearance sends a message to everyone around you, including yourself, about how much you still value your own presence in this world. When the clothes are always wrinkled, when the hair is never quite combed, when there's a smell that probably should have been addressed, people notice. They try not to, they feel guilty for noticing, but they do. And more importantly, when you stop caring for yourself on the outside, it starts to affect how you feel on the inside too. It's called the enclothed cognition effect, where what you wear and how you present yourself actually shifts your mindset and your mood. You don't need to look 20 years younger. You just need to look like someone who still gives a damn about being here. Clean shirt, clean hands, a little something that says, I showed up for today. That alone changes everything. And then there's the thing that often gets wrapped up in the idea of honesty, but it's really not honesty at all. It's this habit some older folks develop of just saying whatever they think without any filter and calling it wisdom. Well, I'm just telling it like it is. I'm just being real with you. And yes, directness is a gift, but there's a significant difference between directness and cruelty, between honesty and contempt. Psychologists call it the distinction between assertiveness and aggression. Assertive communication is clear and honest and still considers the dignity of the other person. Aggressive communication uses honesty as a weapon. And when you're older, when you're someone that younger people look up to, your words carry extra weight. A single sharp comment from you can live in someone's head for years. The most genuinely wise people I've ever known in my life weren't the loudest in the room. They were the gentlest. They shared what they knew with care. They understood that being right is only worth something if the other person still feels safe enough to listen to you. People don't remember your arguments. They remember how you made them feel.
And speaking of feelings, this next one. Oh, this one goes deep. The victim mentality. And I have to be careful how I say this, because real pain is real. Real sacrifice is real. A lot of older people gave enormous amounts of themselves to families and jobs and communities, and then looked around one day and felt like none of it was recognized. That hurt is legitimate. But there is a psychological pattern called learned helplessness, where a person becomes so identified with their suffering and their sacrifice that it becomes the primary tool they use to connect with others. I gave everything. Nobody appreciates me. I sacrificed so much, and look how I am treated. And what happens is, instead of drawing people closer, it pushes them back. Because guilt is not a bridge. You cannot guilt-trip someone into loving you more. Gratitude, though, is an entirely different force. When you genuinely notice and appreciate the small things people do for you, when you express that without conditions attached, something shifts in the relationship. You become someone people want to be around, rather than someone they feel obligated to check on.
Now let me talk about something that I think is one of the most underrated gifts a person can give themselves in their later years, and that is the willingness to keep learning. And I know, some of you are already thinking it. That stuff is not for me. That is for young people. I'm too old to start learning new things. But here's what the science actually says. Neuroplasticity, which is your brain's ability to form new connections and adapt, does not just vanish when you hit a certain age. It slows, yes, but it never stops. And every time you try something new, every time you sit down with genuine curiosity and say, okay, how does this work? You are literally building new pathways in your brain. And more than that, you're signaling to the people around you that you are still in motion, that you are still alive in the most real sense of the word. Ask your grandkid to show you something on their phone. Try a food you've never eaten before. Watch a video about something you know nothing about. It's not about the thing itself. It's about staying open. And openness is magnetic. People are drawn to it at every age. And I want to talk about conversations because this is one that I see constantly, and it breaks my heart a little every time. The habit of dominating every single exchange. When you're older, you have more stories. That's just math. You live longer, more has happened to you, and your stories are genuinely worth telling. But communication is not a monologue. It's a two-way exchange. And when you consistently talk more than you listen, when you cut people off, when you redirect every topic back to something you experienced or something you know, a psychological dynamic kicks in that researchers call social withdrawal. People start giving shorter answers. They stop bringing up new topics. They find ways to keep conversations brief, not because they don't care about you, but because they've learned that there's not really space for them in the exchange. The most powerful conversationalist I ever sat with barely talked at all. He asked questions, real questions, and then he listened like what you said was the most important thing he had heard all week. That kind of presence, that kind of attention, it makes people feel seen, and people who feel seen around you will never want to leave. This next one is the quiet one, the one nobody talks about at all. Bitterness, the slow, low burning fire that a lot of people have been carrying so long they don't even notice it anymore. Life did not go the way they planned. The marriage fell apart. The kids moved away and never call. The career never became what they imagined. The friend who betrayed them. The opportunity that never came. And all of it just sits there, unprocessed, year after year, turning into a kind of hardness. And from the inside, bitterness can feel like self-protection, like if you stay guarded and resentful, nothing can hurt you again. But what it actually does, psychologically, is it locks you in a state that researchers call chronic negativity affect, which just means your baseline emotional state is one of low-level anger and disappointment. And people feel that. They feel it before you even say a word. There's an energy that follows a bitter person into every room, and most people, without even consciously deciding to, would find ways to be somewhere else. Forgiveness, and I don't mean forgiveness for the other person's sake, I mean it for yours, is the act of setting down a weight you were never supposed to carry this long. The lighter you get, the more warmly people will move toward you, not away. And then there's what I would call the invisible wall of automatic authority, the belief held deeply by some older folks that simply by virtue of living longer, they're automatically deserving of deference, of being right, of not being questioned. And yes, experience is valuable. Yes, age does carry something that youth simply cannot have yet. But respect, genuine respect, the kind that makes people actually want your opinion and actually follow your lead, it's never been something you can demand. It's always something you have to earn in real time, over and over again. The elders I've seen who command the deepest, most authentic respect from everyone around them are not the ones who declare their authority. They're the ones who stay genuinely humble, who say, "I don't know," who admit when they got something wrong, who ask for input and actually mean it. Humility in an older person is not weakness. It's the rarest, most powerful form of wisdom there is. And finally, the last thing, so small that you might almost dismiss it, the forgetting to smile. I know that sounds almost too simple to matter, but listen. The human face is one of the most sophisticated communication systems on Earth. We are wired from birth to read facial expressions with remarkable accuracy. And a face that carries a permanent frown, a permanent look of weariness or disapproval or just blankness, sends a signal to everyone nearby that reads like a closed sign on a door. Peep out and not available. Don't come closer. Then often the person wearing that expression doesn't even realize they're doing it. It's just become the default, the resting state. But a genuine smile, not a performance, a real one, does something neurologically extraordinary. It triggers what's called a facial feedback loop, which means the act of smiling actually shifts your own mood slightly upward. And simultaneously, it activates the mirror neurons in the person looking at you, which are the brain cells that make us literally feel echoes of what we see others feeling. In plain terms, when you smile, the person across from you starts to feel a little bit of that warmth themselves. And in that one moment, all the distance collapses, and you become someone they want to be near. So here we are, 12 things. And if you recognized yourself in any of them, don't carry guilt about it. I'm serious. Awareness is not a punishment, it's a gift. Psychologists call it metacognition, which just means the ability to think about your own thinking, to observe your own patterns from the outside. And most people never develop it at all. You're sitting here right now, which means you're already doing something most people avoid entirely, the hard looking. And that matters enormously, because the truth is, aging itself is not the thing that makes people drift away. It's the shutting down, the hardening, the giving up on growth. Stay soft, stay curious, stay open to being wrong. The more gracefully you carry your years, the more people will want to sit beside you and hear every word you have lived to say. And that, right there, is a kind of richness that no amount of money or status ever gets you. If something here hit home for you today, share this with someone you care about. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do for a person is hand them the mirror they didn't know they needed.